It turns out that dispersants are actually embedded in the Clean Water Act amendments of 1972. So these are in statutory law that we shall use this technology, which maybe in 1972 was okay, but 40 plus years later, we now know a whole lot more about dispersants than we did then. And the science has sort of caught up and said these things are not good. The risk outweighs the benefit. They're bad for people, they're bad for wildlife. The combination of oil and dispersants is way more toxic than oil alone. So this is a bad idea. Okay, so there's something called the National Contingency Plan, that once you have a law, Congress passes a law, then it sort of takes the law and pushes it over to the executive branch, and the regulatory agencies, in this case the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is delegated to implement the law. It's like, I just invented the game Clue, but it doesn't have any rules yet. All right, so the regulatory agencies are the ones that would write the rules. And the rules that came out, it was first written in 1968. So without a law at all, that was in response to the Torrey Canyon oil spill over in England. Big mess, oil companies didn't know how to clean it up, dispersants were brought out, and the United States said, well, we need a contingency plan. So that was 1968. 1969 was the Santa Barbara oil spill. And you know what? The National Contingency Plan didn't work. So the lawmakers go back and they created amendments to the Clean Water Act, and that was 1972. And it's those amendments that require dispersants in statutory law. So time passed, we had the Exxon Valdez oil spill. Lawmakers got busy, they passed more rules. And these rules pre-authorize dispersant use. So not only are dispersants mandated, but now there's a whole process to expeditiously decide to use dispersants. So dispersants are pretty much given priority over all other oil spill response products because they're embedded in the law. And this is not right. This is locking a technology that, come on, if cars had been said we couldn't change our cars for 40 years, do you think we'd have all the improvements we had today? So this is way outdated. It's outdated technology. We can do better than dispersants now. And there's another little problem. And that is that the old way of responding to an oil spill was to heap on sand, heap on clay, and physically sink the oil. Well, that doesn't work, because then oil is on the bottom and it's still killing things. So the National Contingency Plan requires that, as a priority, human health is protected, human safety. Second is that the situation is stabilized, we don't do any more harm. And three, we're going to physically contain and remove the oil. That is a cleanup. Well, dispersants strike out on all three of those points. We know now that dispersants make it more toxic for people. They act like an oil delivery system, make it worse for people. Strike out on stabilizing the situation because oil plus dispersants makes it worse for the ecosystem and people. Strike out on contain and remove the oil because once you add dispersants, you push it into the water column, you emulsify it, it makes it impossible to contain and remove the oil. So we have the law that conflicts with itself. It says, shall not use sinking agents, and on the other hand, it approves dispersants. So there's a little bit of opportunity for us to work now to revise the National Contingency Plan based on lessons learned from all the oil disasters since the last time it's been updated, which was 20 years ago exactly, 1994. So there's a couple of opportunities that are there right now. Before this administration leaves office, the Obama administration, there's a chance, a very good chance, that the EPA will open up the National Contingency Plan for revisions based on lessons learned. So there's two opportunities right now. One is to get the concepts in And this is a paper that was developed, I wrote it on behalf of the Citizens Coalition to ban toxic dispersants, with ideas that we would like EPA to consider including in the public comment period. Sinking agents and dispersants, for example. Including tar sands oil and frack oil, and what do we do about oils that aren't included? Are these oils, or are they really more like a hazardous substance? Do we want citizen advisory councils everywhere? After the Oil Pollution Act of 1990 passed, we had 2 citizen advisory councils created in Alaska. They work great. They work great to break up complacency between government and industry. In Alaska, in Prince William Sound, we have the strongest oil spill prevention and response measures on the books and in practice anywhere in the United States. It's all because of the Citizen Oversight Council. So, Oil Pollution Act says if these are successful, they can be everywhere. Everywhere there's an area plan, everywhere in the United States. So, who has to have these plans? Pipeline shippers, crude by rail shippers, terminal operators, tanker operators. There could be citizens' oversights at all these facilities paid for by the oil industry. Then once EPA opens the public comment period, then there will be a time for exactly how we want this worded. And believe me, the oil industry will be right there saying it does not want dispersants banned. So it'll be another time when I think we the people need to speak with one voice and say, no. These pipelines, these rail cars are going by our schools, they're going by our hospitals, they're going right through our urban areas where we live and work and play and pray and go to school. We got to tighten this whole thing up. We want public health included. We want worker safety included. Not just animals, restoring and rehabilitating animals. I mean, that's great, but what about the people? So there's an incredible opportunity right now to learn more about it. Please go to dispersantban.org. Go under supplement and you'll see a couple of documents, justification and the actual proposed wording. It's all up to us, whether it's a cleanup or a cover-up during oil spill response.